Elara Veyne had spent 3 years preparing to become Duchess of Rookwood, yet she had never once imagined the title would bring her happiness. To her, marriage to Duke Cassian Rookwood was not a romantic dream but a shield, a powerful name strong enough to keep her cruel uncle, Lord Elara Veyne, from destroying what remained of her life. Alastair had raised her after her mother's death, and behind the walls of his estate, kindness was treated as weakness. Elara had learned to hide bruises beneath high collars, tears behind lowered lashes, and fear beneath perfect manners. She had also learned never to speak about the silver key her mother had pressed into her hand on the night she died. It was the one secret Alastair must never discover. Cassian Rookwood was nothing like the man Elara had expected. The kingdom called him merciless. Noble families whispered that he had inherited his father's cold heart along with his dukedom. Yet Elara had once found him alone in the castle stables, kneeling in the mud beside an injured stable boy. His expensive coat was soaked with rain, and blood stained his hands as he carefully bound the child's wound. "Don't be frightened," Cassian had murmured. "No one will hurt you again." Elara had watched from the shadows, realizing that the most feared man in the kingdom might possess the gentlest heart she had ever known. That was when she began to love him. But love could not protect her from Seraphine Vale. Seraphine arrived at Rookwood Castle like a flame entering a room full of dry paper, beautiful, dazzling, and certain to leave destruction behind. Within weeks, she had charmed the household, captivated Cassian's relatives, and uncovered an old letter supposedly written by his late mother. According to the letter, Seraphine was the woman destined to become Duchess of Rookwood. Elara knew the document was false. She also knew the truth would never matter against a woman who had powerful allies and a talent for turning lies into weapons. At the engagement banquet, Seraphine wore Elara's emerald necklace, the last precious gift her mother had ever given her. "You should be grateful," Seraphine whispered as musicians played nearby. "You were never suited for a duchess's life." Elara forced herself to smile. Then Seraphine raised her glass and announced her engagement to Cassian before the entire court. The applause felt like knives. Elara looked toward Cassian, expecting him to appear triumphant. Instead, he was staring directly at her. That night, Elara left Rookwood Castle alone beneath a violent snowstorm. She had nearly reached the gates when a black carriage stopped before her. Cassian stepped into the snow. "You are not leaving." Elara tightened her grip around her small traveling bag. "You chose her." "I chose nothing." "Then why did you let her take my place?" Cassian's expression hardened. "Because I discovered something about you." Elara's blood ran cold. He moved closer. "Your uncle has been searching your rooms." She said nothing. Cassian's gaze dropped to the hand concealed beneath her cloak, the hand holding the silver key. "Whatever he wants," he said quietly, "he believes you have it." Elara looked into the eyes of the man she loved and understood that her carefully guarded secret was no longer safe. Then Cassian spoke the words that changed everything. "Tell me, Elara, what did your mother leave you?" Elara did not answer Cassian. The question followed her through the snow like a blade pressed against her throat. She had spent years protecting the silver key, not because she understood its purpose, but because her mother had made her swear never to surrender it. "Whatever happens," her mother had whispered on her deathbed, "trust no one who asks you about this." Now the one man Elara desperately wanted to trust was demanding the truth. She closed her fingers around the key. "My mother left me nothing." Cassian's eyes narrowed. The lie hurt more than she expected. Before he could respond, hoofbeats thundered beyond the gates. Cassian turned sharply. 3 riders emerged through the snow. Elara recognized the crest immediately. Her uncle's men. Fear seized her. Cassian reached for her hand. "Get into the carriage." "I can't." "Elara. They're here for me." "I know." The calmness in his voice frightened her more than panic would have. Cassian drew his sword as the riders approached. "Stay behind me." The first arrow struck the carriage door. Elara screamed. Cassian pulled her down just as another arrow sliced through the air. Then he moved. He fought with ruthless precision, driving the attackers back through the snow. Elara had heard stories about the Duke's temper, but she had never witnessed the violence hidden beneath his composure. When the last rider fled, Cassian lowered his sword. Blood stained his sleeve. Elara rushed toward him. "You're hurt." "It's nothing. You are bleeding." His expression softened when he saw the fear in her eyes. "Only a scratch. You always lie so calmly." A faint smile touched his mouth. "And you lie terribly." Elara froze. Cassian stepped closer. "Your uncle sent those men." She said nothing. "Why?" "Because he wants the key." "Then why does he want it?" Elara looked away. Cassian caught her wrist, but his touch was unexpectedly gentle. "Elara, I am trying to protect you." "You cannot protect me from something you don't understand." "Then let me understand." She stared at him. For one fragile moment, she almost told him everything. Then a carriage lantern appeared in the distance. Seraphine. She had followed them. Cassian's face hardened as she stepped down from the carriage, wrapped in white fur and accompanied by armed guards. "How touching," Seraphine said. "The discarded bride and the Duke playing hero." Elara felt Cassian's hand tighten around hers. Seraphine smiled. "I came to retrieve what belongs to Rookwood." Her gaze fell upon the silver key. Elara instinctively hid it. That tiny movement was enough. Seraphine's smile vanished. "You have it." Cassian looked at Elara. Seraphine laughed softly. "Now you understand why your beloved bride was so desperate to leave." Cassian's expression became unreadable. "Go back to the castle, Seraphine." "I will not. You have no authority here." "I have more authority than she does." Seraphine stepped closer. "Ask her what happened the night your father died." The world seemed to stop. Elara's blood turned cold. Cassian stared at her. "What is she talking about?" Elara could not breathe. Seraphine watched her with cruel satisfaction. "You never told him, did you?" Cassian's voice became dangerously quiet. "Elara." She finally looked at him. "I didn't kill your father. I never said you did. But you think my mother did." Cassian went still. Elara's voice trembled. "Everyone believes she betrayed your family." Seraphine smiled. "But she didn't." Elara turned toward her. "Enough." Seraphine's expression sharpened. "You should have told him the truth before you fell in love with him." Cassian looked at Elara as though the ground beneath him had disappeared. "What truth?" Elara's tears finally fell. "The man who killed your father is still alive." Cassian stared at her. "And you know who he is?" Elara looked toward the distant road, where her uncle's men had vanished into the storm. "Yes." Cassian's face hardened. "Who?" Elara whispered the name she had spent years fearing. "Lord Elara Veyne." Before Cassian could speak, a sharp whistle pierced the darkness. From the forest came the sound of approaching horses. Dozens of them. Elara looked toward the trees. Her uncle had not sent 3 men. He had sent an army. And this time, they had come to take the key, and silence its keeper forever. The riders emerged from the forest like a dark tide. Cassian immediately stepped in front of Elara, sword drawn, his body shielding hers from the approaching danger. "How many?" he asked. "Too many," Elara whispered. She recognized the crest on the leading horse. Her uncle had not come to frighten her. He had come to end her. "Take the carriage," Cassian ordered. Elara shook her head. "They will follow us. Then we make certain they cannot." Before she could argue, the first rider charged. Cassian met him halfway. Steel rang through the frozen night. Elara backed toward the carriage, but a second horseman broke through the chaos and seized her arm. She fought desperately, striking his face, yet his grip tightened. Then another figure appeared from the darkness. A wounded man on horseback drove his blade into the attacker's shoulder. The rider fell. The stranger dismounted, staggered, and nearly collapsed. Elara caught him. "Who are you?" The man looked at her with exhausted eyes. "Rowan Ashford." The name meant nothing to her. Then he whispered, Your mother saved my life. Elara went still. Before she could question him, Rowan pushed her toward the carriage. Your uncle knows about the key. I know. No, Rowan said urgently. You don't understand. He doesn't want what it opens. He glanced toward Cassian, who was still fighting. He wants what is hidden inside. A gunshot shattered the night. Cassian fell. Elara screamed. She ran toward him, but Rowan seized her. Wait. Cassian was already rising. The bullet had struck the metal clasp at his chest, leaving him shaken but alive. His gaze found Elara. For one terrible second, she saw naked fear in his eyes. Not fear for himself. Fear of losing her. Cassian charged the shooter. The battle ended minutes later. Several attackers lay wounded. The rest had fled. But Lord Alistair was nowhere among them. Cassian approached Elara, breathing heavily. Are you hurt? She shook her head. His hands moved over her arms, checking for injuries. Only when he was certain she was unharmed did he step back. Rowan watched them silently. Then he said, We have to leave. Cassian turned toward him. And you are? Someone who owes Elara's mother a debt. Cassian's expression hardened. That doesn't answer my question. Rowan reached into his coat and produced an old letter. Elara recognized the handwriting immediately. Her mother's. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The message contained only one sentence. If my daughter ever holds the key, tell her the truth about the night the Duke's father died. Elara closed her eyes. Cassian stared at her. You knew. It was not an accusation. That made it worse. Elara nodded. I knew your father was murdered. Cassian's jaw tightened. And you knew my father was blamed on your mother? Yes. Who killed him? Elara looked toward the road. Alistair. Cassian's face changed. For years, he had believed his father died because of a family feud. Now he understood that the man responsible had been standing beside Elara's family all along. Why didn't you tell me? Because Alistair threatened to kill you. Cassian stared at her. Elara's voice broke. I was a child, Cassian. I had no army, no power, and no one I could trust. I thought silence was the only way to keep you alive. Cassian looked away. For a moment, Elara feared she had lost him. Then he took her hand. I should be furious with you. You are. Yes. She lowered her eyes. But I'm more furious with the man who made you believe you had to face this alone. Elara looked up. Cassian's anger had not disappeared. Neither had his pain. But his hand remained wrapped around hers. Suddenly, Rowan spoke. Alistair isn't after the key because it opens a door. Elara looked at him. Then what does it open? Rowan's expression darkened. A ledger. Cassian frowned. What ledger? Rowan looked directly at Elara. The one containing the names of every nobleman who helped Alistair destroy your mother's secret network. A cold silence settled over them. Elara finally understood. Her mother had not left her a treasure. She had left her a weapon. And somewhere in the kingdom, powerful men were already hunting for it. Rowan pointed toward the mountains. If we stay here, Alistair will find us before dawn. Cassian mounted his horse. Then we leave now. Elara climbed into the carriage, but before she could close the door, Cassian stopped her. His expression softened. Whatever happens next, you are not facing it alone. Elara looked at him. For the first time, she believed him. Then a distant horn sounded from the mountains. Rowan's face went pale. That's impossible. Cassian turned. What? Rowan stared into the darkness. Alistair has found the monastery. Elara's heart stopped. Because the monastery was where her mother had hidden the ledger. And now someone was burning it. The monastery burned against the black sky. Elara watched the flames from the carriage window as Cassian ordered the horses forward. Behind them, Alistair's men rode through the smoke, searching for survivors. "The ledger," Elara whispered. "Is gone," Cassian said. Rowan shook his head. "No." Elara turned. Rowan's face was grim. "Your mother never trusted paper. She knew fire could destroy anything written on it." He reached beneath his coat and pulled out a small metal case. Elara stared at it. The ledger was never in the monastery. Rowan handed her the case. Inside was a thin collection of parchment pages, carefully folded and sealed. Elara's breath caught. Every page contained names. Powerful names. Noble families. Judges. Military commanders. Men who had helped Alistair imprison, sell, and murder innocent people. At the bottom of the final page was one name Elara recognized immediately. Seraphine Veyne. Elara looked up. She was involved. Rowan nodded. "She betrayed your mother's network." The revelation struck harder than any accusation. Seraphine had not merely stolen Elara's place beside Cassian. She had helped destroy the very people Elara's mother had died protecting. Cassian read the evidence in silence. Then he looked at Elara. "What will you do?" Elara expected him to demand revenge. Instead, he waited. For the first time in her life, someone had given her a choice. She closed the case. "We expose them." Cassian nodded. "Then we do it together." They returned to Rookwood Castle before dawn. Seraphine was waiting in the great hall. She stood alone. Without her guards. Without her jewels. Without the confidence that had once made her seem untouchable. "You have the ledger," she said. Elara stopped. Seraphine's eyes filled with fear. "You know what it contains." "Yes." "Then you know I was forced." Elara's expression hardened. "You betrayed my mother." "I was threatened." "So was I." Seraphine flinched. Elara stepped closer. "The difference is that I chose not to become like the people who threatened me." Seraphine lowered her head. Cassian ordered the guards to take her away. But Elara stopped him. "Wait." Everyone turned. Elara looked at Seraphine. "You will testify." Seraphine stared at her. "And if I refuse?" "Then the ledger will speak for you." Seraphine understood. For the first time, she had no weapon left. She agreed. Within days, the names in the ledger reached the crown. Alistair was arrested. The corrupt nobles were stripped of their titles. The secret network Elara's mother had created was restored under Elara's protection. But Alistair had one final cruelty left. Before his trial, he demanded to see Elara. She entered the prison alone. He smiled when he saw her. "You think you won?" Elara remained silent. "You are still my blood." "No." His smile faded. "You are my niece." Elara looked directly into his eyes. "I am my mother's daughter." For the first time, Alistair looked afraid. Elara turned to leave. "Wait." She stopped. "Your mother knew I killed the Duke's father." Elara slowly turned. Alistair laughed. "She knew everything. And she still protected me." "Why?" "Because she believed everyone could be saved." Elara's expression changed. Alistair leaned closer to the bars. She was wrong. Elara thought of Cassian. Of Rowan. Of the children her mother had rescued. Then she smiled. "No." She walked away. She was simply brave enough to try. Months later, Rookwood Castle opened its gates. The place that had once represented privilege became a refuge for those fleeing cruelty. Elara stood in the courtyard as the first group of rescued families entered. Cassian joined her. "You changed everything," he said. "No." Elara looked toward the children. "My mother started it." Cassian took her hand. "Then let us finish it together." Elara smiled. There was still one surprise waiting for her. Rowan approached carrying a small wooden box. Inside was a letter. Her mother's final letter. Elara unfolded it with trembling fingers. The message was short. "My darling Elara, If you are reading this, then you survived the secret I feared would destroy you. But remember this, you were never meant to carry my darkness. You were meant to transform it into light. Elara began to cry. Cassian wrapped his arms around her. Then the castle bells rang. A messenger had arrived with unexpected news. The crown had recognized Elara's work and offered her an ancient title once belonging to her mother's family. Elara was now the rightful Lady Protector of Rookwood. She looked at Cassian. "I thought I was going to become your Duchess." Cassian smiled. "Perhaps. And now?" He kissed her forehead. "Now I am the man fortunate enough to stand beside you." Elara laughed through her tears. She had spent years believing another woman had stolen her future. She had been wrong. Seraphine had stolen a title. Alistair had stolen her childhood. But neither had stolen her destiny. That evening, Cassian led Elara to the chapel where they had first discovered the truth. There, beneath the old stone arch, he took her hand. "I have one question." Elara smiled. "What is it? Will you marry me?" She stared at him. "After everything we've survived, you're only asking now? I wanted you to choose me when you were finally free." Elara's eyes filled with tears. Then she kissed him. Yes. Their wedding took place in spring. But the greatest surprise came afterward. On the morning after the ceremony, Elara discovered a little girl standing outside the castle gates. She carried the same silver key Elara had once received from her mother. The child looked frightened. Elara knelt. "Where did you get that?" The girl whispered the answer. "Your mother gave it to mine." Elara looked at Cassian. The key had never been unique. Her mother had created a chain of secrets, each protecting another innocent life. And somewhere beyond Rookwood, others were still waiting to be found. Elara took the girl's hand. "Come inside." Cassian opened the castle doors. Sunlight flooded the entrance. Elara smiled. She had once inherited a secret filled with blood and sorrow. Now she understood its true purpose. It had never been a weapon. It had been a promise. And from that day forward, the doors of Rookwood remained open. For every frightened child. For every woman seeking safety. For every person who believed there was nowhere left to go. Elara had not merely become the woman beside the Duke. She had become the reason an entire kingdom learned that kindness could be stronger than cruelty. And when she looked at Cassian, she knew the happiest part of her story was not that she had won him back. It was that, after everything the world had taken from her, she had finally found something no one could ever steal. A home. A family. A love freely chosen. And a future that belonged entirely to her.